Hey, I'm Luna, and I wanted to chat a little bit today about the sexy magic of shadow work. So, when you say shadow work, like a lot of the first thoughts that pop up into people's head if they're a bit new to it, is that, maybe it's all about like darkness and, yeah, the kind of like uncomfortable topics and things like that. And this is a part of shadow work a lot of the time, is diving into taboos and, topics like death and um, power and all these kind of things. But shadow work is essentially about bringing the unconscious to the conscious. So when we're talking about the shadow, it's sort of like, we have this light of awareness. Our awareness is on certain things, and we can only, see certain things at one point in time. And then what is unseen is the shadow, it's the unconscious. So a lot of us have like parts of our personality that we know, like, oh, I'm a creative and I'm confident, or, I'm an athlete or something like that. We might think that, I'm a sweet person or a nice person or something like that. But we actually have everything within us. We are all the entire universe in human form. We are everything, and we are capable of everything. So you might not think of yourself as someone that's capable of, darker things, of, greed or hatred or killing, or, these kind of intense topics that are considered to be, not wanted in society. But we actually have like the possibility of every single part of the human experience within us. And this is where non-duality kind of comes into shadow work, this idea that we're all one consciousness, one being, and we have the entire universe within us. So because we have everything within us, that means that while we're associating with certain parts of our personality, of our life, and the things that we do, there's this whole range of other aspects of our psyche that we might not be conscious of. And there's especially a lot of things that we like purposely reject or cut off from ourselves because maybe growing up, if we acted a certain way, then we would be rejected or shunned or get in trouble. So we cut off and we reject these parts of ourselves, and they go into the unconscious. And the thing is that the unconscious, it's still there. Like these parts of you that you've cut off, a lot of the time they actually start like playing out in your life in different ways. And you can find yourself attracting certain situations in your life that you don't think that you want, and your conscious personality, ego self, doesn't want that happening. But this unconscious part of yourself, this other multifaceted being, is attracting these situations into your life. So that's why a lot of the light and fluffy like spirituality that's all about just focus on the positive and attract positive things into your life, a lot of people try this and they find it doesn't really work, because there's all these unconscious parts of themselves that are continuously attracting these shitty situations, and they're not really acknowledging it. They're just trying to focus their awareness somewhere else, but it's still in the shadow, a lot of things playing out. So when we do shadow work, we're bringing our awareness and our focus and bringing this light into the shadow, and then we can integrate these different situations. So then, it's magic when you do this, because you're actually like really fundamentally changing your reality. You're going to stop attracting these situations into your life that you think that you don't want, but your unconscious is secretly actually desiring that and creating that. So you can have more control over your conscious reality and over your life. So these little, patterns and behaviors can often be liberated, and you can end up feeling really free. So this can be actually quite a sensual and sexy process as well, because the first step is really acknowledging and bringing awareness to the unconscious, and then learning how to accept it. And we can even take this a step further and learn to like really embrace and get turned on by these different parts that we might have rejected and kind of cut off from ourselves. And if we really give ourselves full permission to enjoy and to really get off on these different situations and these different unconscious parts of ourselves, then we can really like integrate it and become really whole and really genuinely love all of us, even the parts of us that we might think that we don't like, or you know, that we have rejected in the past. So a little example of why shadow work you know, really made some big changes in my life was because I was one of these kind of tomboy type people growing up. I was the rebel. I was into a lot of metal and punk, and I'd actually cut off a lot of the softer, sweeter, more vulnerable parts of myself. So I'd actually really rejected romance and, you know, the idea of being cared for, and thought of myself as a really like independent person that didn't need that, thought that like romance and stuff was all bullshit. And when I started doing shadow work, I was realizing that I'd actually rejected all these parts of myself that were super vulnerable and sweet, and that like really wanted to be deeply loved and cared for. So, you know, I was finding I had like no relationships for so long. I couldn't attract a partner even though I wanted it, because I had rejected all this romantic loving part of myself. I also found I was constantly getting sick and hurt and in situations where I had to be vulnerable and cared for, even though I consciously didn't like it. So when I actually started bringing awareness to these parts, learning to love, accept, embrace them, bringing my awareness there, then I was able to break a lot of these patterns and really change my reality and bring in the kind of life that I, you know, deep down was desiring in my unconscious as well as my conscious mind. So it's really super powerful work to go into these different areas. So I like teaching shadow work from the tantric perspective, and it was a big part of original tantra that, you know, they used to do all kinds of different rituals and different practices that were really about facing taboos or things that culturally weren't like okay or respectable things to do. So there used to be tantrikas that would wear human skulls and cover themselves in the ash of the dead and dance in graveyards, and it was a way of confronting death so that they wouldn't have a fear of death anymore, and they would be able to liberate themselves from this conscious and unconscious fear of death so that they could be fully alive and embrace life fully. And shadow work was a huge part of the Hermetic arts and a lot of, you know, alchemy and magic, because the path was all about becoming fully integrated and whole. So there's also a lot of rituals and practices from alchemy and stuff that really are doing shadow work, bringing the unconscious to the conscious. And, you know, of course, Jungian psychology is, you know, psychotherapy is all about this. So the work that I do kind of brings all of this together, and it's really aiming to help people be able to love all of themselves, embrace all of themselves, and then from that place of like total wholeness and integration and accepting the full spectrum of your being, then you can really live the life that you want without all this like unconscious patterns and frustrations. And also it takes so much energy to be, you know, internally like shoving all this stuff down in the closet and having all this shadow. So once you learn to like accept it, embrace it, integrate it, then it actually frees up so much energy in your body, so much space in your mind, and brings so much more love into your life. So anyway, stay tuned if you want to know more. I've got a upcoming webinar, Seducing the Shadow, that you can check out. You sign up for, it's free. I'll be guiding you through a shadow integration practice, as well as some embodied inquiry for freeing your mind. And it's going to be a lot of fun. I really love sharing this work because it's changed my life so much. So I'll post the link below, and you can find out more there.